All right, this is being recorded, so I think we can go ahead and get started, and people probably trickle in over time.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I think Jack accidentally muted himself.
Did you? Oh,
He
okay.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. There you go, man.
I don't know how that happened. Hey guys.
Cool. Jack,
All
take
right,
it
should
away,
we go
man.
ahead
This
and
is
get
your show.
started? This
Yeah.
is my show. Wow. Okay. Hey guys, I'm Jack. If you guys don't know me yet, it's very nice to meet you. I'm on the operations team here at Wolfworks. And I think I'm going to be taking the lead today on this meeting, give these boys a little break here. They've been working real hard. And we have a lot to show for it. If you guys haven't got a chance to check out the new website, I definitely would recommend hopping on wolfworks.io right now so you can follow along. I think we're going to do a little walkthrough of the site and give you guys a few demos, maybe a exchange demo and a calculator demo. Those would probably be the most valuable for our time today. But first off, I just want to talk about the new site in general, because it's kind of a big deal. And it really allows us to do things that we weren't really able to do in the past, or we were, but we could do them to a more, I guess, more professional degree now. Wouldn't you say, Devin?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So it definitely opens up the door for a lot of new collaboration and a lot of new, it's just a better public facing site for new investors and new projects. So I'm really happy with it. And I know we're all excited. I hope you guys are excited too. So Riley, are you here?
Yeah, I'm on here.
Cool, man.
Yeah, so like Jack was saying, it kind of we have a little bit more of a solid foundation with that. And the biggest thing whenever it comes to marketing and influencers and everything in that category is that, we could go and spend a lot of money on those things. But if our foundation was going to give us like a low conversion, there's no point in taking that money and blowing it on that. So
Right.
the way we approach this is like we focus on building a solid foundation first, and then we go and use the money allocated to that. So that way we have a higher conversion rate. So we had a Twitter space yesterday, and then even somebody commented on the Twitter space yesterday that the new site looked slick and that that they're excited to show their friends and stuff. Because like the biggest thing before is like you can show people stuff, but if it doesn't look good, then it's like, why even bother showing them it? But if it looks good, then it's like, you feel a little bit more proud and you're like, I can show this person something, and then it's like it looks cool. So
yeah, it looks great.
And a big part of that too is this, like one of the big things that we wanted to do with this is kind of set it up in a way where, as new people are introduced to the DAO and we start to see an influx of people coming in and showing their friends, and influencers going and doing videos on us. We wanted to make it as simple and as user friendly as possible, while still looking as professional as possible, right? And so a lot of the things that we're going to go over today are specifically built around that idea of being able to onboard people, simply, easily, and comprehensively. So
yeah, because if it's like we have 5 or 10 people coming in, and 1 or 2 of those people get confused about like, oh, I have to go to quick swap, I have to do this and that. Every little step that you can cut down on is like another step that people don't get stuck on later. So if like a couple people are having that issue out of 5 to 10 people, imagine what it's going to be like scaling up to like 5 to 10,000 people.
yeah,
Then
exactly.
you have hundreds of people getting stuck on like, oh wait, I have to go to quick swap, or like confused about all those little things. So if we're going and have these YouTubers and everything else, and a couple of them we've already started dialogue with, we've actually paid some of them, So they're starting to work on these things now that we're ready and making videos. The one should have something pretty soon, right, Devin?
Yeah. So we've got we're in talks with quite a few different influencers at the moment, but we've got some that we've already like vetted and agreed upon, and some of them, you know, are proactively doing videos for us. Others were, you know, working on getting that media content out there with them. But we should actually see some videos posted, you know, in the next couple of days even, that should have a reach of, you know, tens of thousands, if not potentially even hundreds of thousands of people. And as as we start to do these kinds of media campaigns and start to you know, grow our approach, I think that we are going to see, you know, a pretty significant influx of traffic. And, you know, one of the big things is we want to be able to convert that traffic as much as we possibly can, and expand our community, expand our outreach, and, you know, ideally expand the number of people who can make profit off of this. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All of it just comes
Yeah.
back to that, you know, if we're scaling up, I'm going to take on all these different projects through our certification, insurance, and launchpad. And we're also having a lot of people come in to WLD, then we have to be able to keep up with that scaling process. Because if we don't do that, then we're going to miss our opportunity to scale and we'll fall flat on our face and, you know, miss that opportunity, which we don't want to do. So
Right.
whenever we do scale, we do put these videos out there. It's very important that whenever they go through these things, it's as intuitive as possible to convert them and turn
Well,
them
and
into
yeah.
WLD holders, get them on board and in our community.
Right. And one of the things that we've done to kind of help with that process too, that we haven't really had too much of a chance to talk about, is the docs. So we've talked about it a little bit in the past, but essentially what we've done is we've gone ahead and set up a phenomenal comprehensive guide on pretty much everything, that all things WolfWorks, right? And so it has everything from guides to how to get started. We're currently in the process of uploading videos for people who don't want to go and you know, read all of these things, but want a brief overview, and those kinds of things. So like, we're essentially, instead of taking the traditional white paper approach with everything and throwing it all into one big document and having everybody go through and get, you know, sit there with 4.5 hours worth of reading, what we're trying to do is we're trying to put, you know, a very precise wiki together, essentially, that is going to be able to walk everybody through all of these different things in nice bite-sized pieces and make it a little bit more understandable for people as they join up.
Yeah, absolutely. Things are looking so much more clear and sleek now. And yeah, we can talk about the influence a little later. We can loop back on that, but it definitely makes my job easier approaching these people and sending them our information and trying to onboard them, and especially the docs. So let's actually talk about the docs. Do one of you guys have that to screen share?
I'm
Riley or
currently
Devin?
sharing it.
Yeah,
Oh,
Devin
you
has it
are.
up.
I'm so sorry. I'm
Oh,
on
you're
my
good.
phone.
I think he got muted again.
Oh, did he? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he did.
There you go, Jack.
Wow, you guys, I'm really having some technical difficulties over here.
That's okay. So you did it again.
So every time I swipe, it asks me to tap to speak, and I'm on my phone because my internet's broken apparently. So yeah, let's go over the docs real quick if you guys want to follow along.
Yeah, well, and you know, it's one of those things where this is there's a lot of information here, so we'll be very brief about it. But yeah, like from the moment that you actually get on here, you know, you're going to be greeted by essentially a small introduction, immediately followed by a getting started, where we kind of give everybody all of the tools that they would realistically need to be able to navigate everything, get themselves a better understanding of what's going on and those kinds of things, as well as, like, you know, getting into that about and even breaking down some of the terminology. One of the interesting things that we found is kind of like a learning curve for new people coming into the DAO is the terminology aspect of things. a lot of times people get a little bit confused about things. So we want to be able to kind of like streamline that process. So
Yeah, we do have a little bit of base of older people, like and
Right.
guys that are more used to like traditional finance or the traditional like the corporate world, and they aren't as familiar. So for them, that's kind of like, because even some of them aren't that familiar with like, oh, I can just go on Google and look this up. It's like, no, you have to kind of spell it out for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's
Exactly.
super helpful for everybody because some people I know this is their first crypto investment at all.
Mhm.
Well, and that's a big thing too, is it's like it's trying to we have to bridge that gap, right? Because we're in crypto as a utility, but we're not a crypto project from the traditional sense, because we're bringing in, profit and bringing in those assets from, more traditional means. And
Yeah,
so,
we're not in crypto for the sake of crypto. We're in crypto to use it as a platform,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
which is what it's for. But then you have a lot of meme tokens and other things that use crypto as just for using it for the sake of crypto.
Yep. But then it
More of a
also,
purpose.
the docs also breaks down our solutions and our assets. So our solutions are things like the launch pad, the insurance, the audit. Those are the products that we offer as individual services that are kind of like, their own companies, right? And those are basically, solutions are small companies that are owned by the DAO and managed by the DAO for different things that we expect to see growth over time, right? Where then, our assets are like the things that are actually held by the DAO and those kinds of things. So if you ever have any questions, or you want to just take a look, I definitely recommend spending some time on the docs. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here, even all the way down to like guides on like receiving a Wolf certification to how to buy WLD and those kinds of things. So and like I said, videos, and this is going to be a living document, so it'll update over time with new content. But yeah, anytime that you guys have any questions, it's a good place to go and take a look. Another thing to kind of point out about the website itself is previously we found that it was a little bit difficult for people to navigate over to the snapshots for voting. So you actually have access to the snapshots right here and can go and do the voting aspect of things right off the site. And it's all integrated, which is awesome. See, I'm getting better about the super duper thing.
You are. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And it's very intuitive, and we're trying to add things like videos to help you guys kind of understand things. I know in our proposal section of that, we already have one up. And like you said, it's a living document. So we're working every day to kind of update this and make it better and add video content and, really make it as straightforward as possible.
yeah.
Yeah, which any of you, pretty much anybody that's in the DAO, as long as you hold one WLD, you can go on Snapshot and create proposals.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. And that's
So if you're
something that
like,
I would love to see more of, even for little things.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's talks of doing all kinds of different events using the proposals and that kind of stuff here in the future. So I'm excited to see what we're able to knock out with that. Riley, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, so you can go ahead and take over with that.
cool, sounds good. Let me
Yeah,
find the right
Riley is the
window.
DApp mastermind here, so we're gonna
Right.
let him share some things that he's been helping work on.
So the biggest thing whenever it comes to the site, we use React because it's like the modern library that everybody uses. Even outside of Web3, React is like a huge library that everybody uses because it makes things a lot easier. They run a lot quicker. It's just a lot better all the way around. So there's this framework called Next.js. So we currently, sorry, I got a call on it through my flow wall. But so we have React, which is a library, and now we're using Next.js. So we're taking what we built, putting it into Next.js, which is a framework, and then it's going to make it even more optimized for things like images, SEO, and all of that good marketing stuff.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too, is it's going to be like, what we're doing is we're essentially, now that we've got this beautiful site put together, now we're really starting to focus on the processes that are, bringing people in, like we've talked about. And one of the big things with that is making sure that everybody has quick, convenient access to our information. And Next.js is going to be a big part of how we're able to do that.
Yeah, so like companies like all these ones right here, Hulu, Docker, TikTok, Starbucks. I didn't know they used it too. So like all these ones use Next.js because it just does a lot of things better. So yeah, we're moving what we have into that, and it's going to be even better.
Awesome.
And allow us to do even more things.
It looks really great.
Are we gonna demo now? Is this where we actually get to do some swapping?
Yeah.
Yes,
so
this is my favorite part.
Yeah.
So yeah, Riley, if you would be so kind, do a little demo for us. And I'm gonna follow along. I hope you guys do too, but I have a little bit of Matic already loaded up. And I know Elias does too.
So
let me
Fifth asked, apart from distribution, how else can we make money with WLD except just hold? Stakes are planned or will never happen. Love this project.
So let's run through this and then we'll revisit that afterwards.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do all the QA stuff after this.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, post them in the chat and we'll get to them in a bit.
Yeah. So going through the token swap. So if you guys want to follow along, the transaction fees are only like 1 to 2 cents. So if you have like $1 in Matic, you can follow along if you want, just to like do something as a group. I don't know, might be fun. So if you go to wolfworks.io-app-swap, or go to the site and then open up the app, go to swap, connect your wallet, and then you always have to make sure that you do it within your wallet's browser or you have the MetaMask extension. There's a lot of people who try to open this up in Safari or outside of their wallet, and then you can't connect your wallet because it's not in your wallet. But so if we go here, so I now have my wallet connected. You can see it up there. So can select USDC, and I want to buy $1 worth of USDC. So I can see how much I'm going to get out in WLD. But since I'm using USDC, the first thing I have to do is approve it, which basically the smart contract that is used in this is it's called 0x API. It's basically how orders are routed, and you have to allow it to be able to use your USDC. So if you click here on approve, I think my screen paused, but it popped up with a transaction, and I'm going to hit confirm. So I just hit confirmed. So now the transaction's pending. I'm going to wait for that to finish up. Should be any minute now.
And this is the approval.
Cool. So got a little notification at the bottom, transaction successful. So if we go here, let's see. Did it go through?
There it goes.
Awesome. There we go. Sometimes whenever you submit transactions, because what it does is it's checking to see if you actually approved. Sometimes the polygons, RPCs and stuff are slow and takes a second for it to update like your balance and info in the smart contracts. So now it recognizes that I approved. So now I can go ahead and swap. So if I click on swap, pops up with another transaction. Gonna hit confirm. So my swap is now pending. So any second should pop up. and then I will have WLD.
Yeah, so I mean, this is literally just 2 button clicks at this point, guys. So like, we're, one of the biggest things that we saw, one of the biggest feedbacks that we had with the process initially was that it was complex, right? So now essentially you can literally go over to your Coinbase, grab as much USDC as you want on the Polygon network, throw it into your wallet, and then immediately go over here and swap it. There's no need to go and mess with the hassle and the complexity of like using quick swap if you don't want to. That's of course is always going to be available, but we've literally made it as simple as we possibly can, and in our current situation to help people go ahead and do this. In fact, we've already started seeing people immediately go and start using this for transactions and stuff like that, which is awesome to see. We talked about it before, but there are no additional fees or anything to use our swap. We built it in, for WLD holders to use.
Yeah, so now you can see that I have an entire dollars worth of WLD in my wallet.
And Riley, you can use Polygon on Matic network or Matic on Polygon, USDC, and also bridge Ethereum on the site, correct?
Yeah, you can use wrapped Ethereum, Matic, or USDC for that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, so much easier than quick swap. Going on and pulling out the contract address is always annoying. So I'm personally very, very excited for this.
Yeah. Well, it's just fun to have it all like in one spot.
For sure.
Yeah. It looks great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
well, thank you for the demo.
Yeah, so we can see right here, routed through 0x. There was also another one. It's actually, so these are all the people that must have been. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and like now that we bought some WLD, like what if somebody wants to go ahead and calculate up how much profit they're going to make?
Yeah, this is the fun part. So the biggest thing with this is like people always ask us what the formulas are for this. So this is kind of so they can go in there and type whatever they want to type in. So if my WLD balance is, let's call it 200,000 WLD. And the thing is that from the treasury, we vote on proposals to be able to distribute it. So we can distribute USDC or we can distribute another token. Like, so right now we have Cold Phoenix tokens in our treasury too. We were going to distribute some of those Cold Phoenix tokens, something like that. The proposal was passed to do that. That means that other tokens can be distributed and have different values. So it's not always going to be $1. It might be the token's worth 1 cent or something like that. So if we're using USDC though, it's going to be $1. So we put in $1 there. Yeah, value of distributed token.
Right.
So then this is how many of those tokens is going to be paid out. So let's say, let's say one of the cases finished up from Liddy Capital, goes to Liddy tokens, goes to the Dallas Treasury. From the Dallas Treasury, there's USDC tokens that can be distributed. So let's say 50 million worth of USDC tokens are distributed. So then down here, you can see how much is going to be distributed per token. So 0.026 USDC tokens are going to be distributed to each WLD token.
Right.
So specifically, what you would get if you had 200,000 WLD is 5,213 USDC. And then also because the value of those tokens is $1, it's the equivalent of $5,213.
And one of the
if we were going to pay out a token that was worth 50 cents, then that obviously gets cut in half.
Right. Well, so put $1 back in there real quick.
$1.
One of the cool things that I like about this that I keep looking at is, 50 million, whenever it comes to distributions, let's say yearly distributions, or even like some of the larger cases that are going on and those kinds of things, 50 million is very reasonable, right? That's a very reasonable amount to kind of do this example with. And if you look, you're talking, one of my favorite features is the fact that you can actually see the amount that is being distributed per WLD. So even at 50 million, you're talking about like 2.5 cents, a little over that, per WLD getting distributed, which is like, that's a 2.5x versus where we're at right now, immediately going right into your hands. And I don't know, I think that's just one of my favorite things, is being able to actually go and see, what these amounts translate to, because like, a
Well,
good example
so
was,
let's do an example that already happened too, even though this is a small amount. So whenever we did the NFT sales, so as a DAO, we have already done a distribution, because we did the NFT sales, and then everything from the
Right.
NFT sales went to them, which we paid out around 100,000 USDC tokens. So if you break that down, that means everybody who owned 200,000 WLD at that time got $10 worth of USDC in their wallet. And that was one that we already did. But with the cases, the value and what we get from those depends on what's won from those cases. And then as a DAO, we also hold the 1% of that big case too. So even with that, call it, which, like, with the cases, a lot of it depends on what it ends up being finalized as, like what they won. But you can at least go in here and kind of speculate and see different values. So if you wanted to be super, super conservative, like, put in a low amount, but if you also want to see like the higher side of things, then you can put them in too.
Well, put in 100 million. Yeah. So that would be like 10 grand on 200K WLD right there. So, definitely
5 cents. 5
Yeah.
cents is pretty appealing.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely take some time to play around with this. We want to see how you guys use it, what you guys think. Feedback is super duper welcome on this kind of thing. So
yeah, and this is like the first version of it, so we'll
Yeah.
make it a little more intuitive and add things to it. We also have the case calculator too, which, so like for one of the cases, they won so if the case won $50 million, Liddy owns 20% of that, and Liddy has $0 in expenses. Then this is kind of what we're looking at. But the reason why we left it to expenses is because it depends on taxes can change where you are in the world, and then also Liddy's expenses per case is going to change, and then there's also withholding tax in Switzerland, all those little variables and stuff. But also, like, we can't speak for each individual, because some of the individuals with Liddy are in countries that do have tax treaties with Switzerland and all that stuff. But yeah, so like if you want to factor in anything, you can factor that in here. So like they had $100,000 worth of expenses that can go in there. So the revenue, $10 million to Liddy, 9.9 is profit. And then this is how it gets broken down. 20% goes to the A shares of Liddy Capital. The rest of it goes to Liddy tokens. And then this is what it is per Liddy token. And then what that would translate to per WLD token.
Yeah, I think we'd be.
But also this can change there too, because as a DAO, if we bought more WLD, that means that our share of this would go up too as a DAO. So like if we picked up more WLD, then that number can go up too.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if we could also like, and I'm sure we'll add a whole bunch of stuff later on, but like even adding the total amount that would be in the treasury based off of the WLD, or like based off of the amount that's going in would be cool.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, there's all kinds of different metrics and stuff like that that we can add later on that you guys can, like, if you guys have any suggestions, would love to see them, and then continue to expand this into a really useful tool. So,
Yeah, well, it already is a very useful tool. I mean, for the last couple of months in my head, I'm just like, well, how many zeros do I add? How many decimal places?
right.
And then I get confused. So this
Yeah.
is huge. And yeah, just to reiterate, I mean, this
And so,
is sorry, Riley, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to recap that really fast. So yeah, WLD balances and the total amount of WLD you have, the amount of the token. If you're assuming it's USDC, it's going to be 1. I know that's a little confusing for people. And then the value of the amount of token distributed is the total amount of USDC, and the value of token distributed will be 1 if it's USDC. I think that's the easiest way to do it or think about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we talked about this on Friday too. We also have the little event calendar that you can pull it up. I think it looks a little weird on mobile, but on your desktop, it looks okay. Or it looks good. I like it. I think it looks cool.
I think it looks great.
But the nice thing about this is that it's one central place that all of our events are listed. So that way you don't have to keep up with Telegram announcements or Discord announcements, because all those things get lost. And then also they're in different time zones from where you are.
Mhm.
So if you go here, it's in one central spot and it's in your local time. So if you're somewhere in Europe, it's going to show whatever time it is in European time, which is nice because a lot of people get confused on the times.
Yeah. So, and as you can see, we've already got events planned. Anytime that we get news or something like that, eventually I'd like to get it to a point where we're sending out a link to the events directly. And then you guys can take a look at the calendar each time along with the announcements. So,
Yeah, we also one of our Zoom calls we did about a month ago on the old site, it had like the score where it was like 70 out of 90 or whatever numbers it was. And then somebody brought up, they were like, why don't you just do percentages? And we were like, you have a point. To them, we did change it to percentages. So it's a little more intuitive. But that's the thing, like if you guys bring up something, you're like, hey, this should be tweaked. Hey, I think this, hey, this would be more intuitive. We listen to all those things and we'll implement them. But yeah, if we want to go ahead and do like QA stuff and loop back around to their question in the chat, I think we can go ahead and do that.
well, so before we do that though, let's talk just a little bit, just for a split second, about marketing, right? So, one of the big things that we want to stress, and I know we've talked about it already a little bit, but it's important, is we're at a point now where we look really good. That's the best way to put it. And because of that, we can actually go and actually start doing the marketing campaigns that people have been asking for. One of the issues that we've seen is people have been like, well, what are you guys doing as far as PR? What kind of influencers are you in talks with? Like, where are the news stories about this? Why isn't the word getting out there? And the short answer was we are doing that, but there's things that take priority over that for in the short term. We've been able to go ahead and get those things taken care of. The website is a good example. And now we're in a position where we can actually start to do those things. So, as time continues from this point, we continue to make progress. We're in a situation where we could see large scaling happening with the DAO over the course of the next couple of months or whatever, as more news comes down the pipeline, right? And we wanted to be able to be in a really good position to capitalize on that news and capitalize on those announcements and the results that are coming down the pipeline, to really optimize the onboarding process, but also set up really good media campaigns. And so now we're in the process of actually implementing those media campaigns which, you know, is a big portion of what I do each day. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, because it's like running traffic to something marketing wise is a pretty straightforward process. Getting something out there, hopping on different things, doing videos, promotions, all that stuff, which ultimately generates traffic. All that stuff it's not rocket science to do it, right? The biggest part that comes into play whenever you do run traffic is like how do you keep those people? How do you retain them? How do you convert them and have that high conversion rate, right? And then also being able to have statements like we did this instead of saying, hey, we're going to do this. Because everybody out there can be like, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this, and then they never do it. We're going into this from the angle of, hey, we already did this.
Yep.
We already did a distribution. We already did a certification. We already are bonded insurance wise. We're officially a reinsurer under Realm Insurance. So like all of these things, it's not a matter of when or if or saying we're going to do this. It's we go onto these different things and create these videos with YouTubers, influencers, whoever else, with the argument of, hey, we did this.
Right.
We're going to
create the real foundation instead of just saying you're going to do it and building hype around that.
Yeah, which sometimes that takes time, of course, but we're to that point now where all of these things have kind of like just fell into place, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all that stuff really got built out in a way that is so nice, and you guys did such a good job. I'm super proud of you guys, and it's looking amazing, and you should be very proud. And I'm gonna do my best to help the process of hyping things up and moving forward on the influencer marketing campaigns. And you know, hopefully this will really propel us forward, and I'm really looking forward to that.
For those of you who don't know, Jack is one of our team members, and he is, you know, specifically working with these influencers, specifically building these media campaigns and looking at how we can get the word out there the most effective way, right? And so, if you guys have any feedback on that, you know, we're definitely happy to take suggestions. But you know, Jack, I work with Jack a lot on this, but we're running with this every single day. So anytime that you guys want to reach out, you can. Jack, one of the things that we're kind of currently doing that I think you probably find pretty exciting is the fact that these influencers that we've been reaching out to and collaborating with, you know, we're bringing some of those people on as strategic to help with strategy whenever it comes to the implementation and rollout of campaigns, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, like, you know, one of the awesome things that's currently going on is we're taking, you know, experienced individuals who are used to the idea of going and you know, reaching out to tens of thousands of people and really optimizing our approach with that. So that way, when we do these campaigns, they are effective, not just from where people land, but the reach that they end up having. You know, we want to be able to create the most bang for the buck whenever it comes to these things. And bringing in influencers and collaborating with influencers to, you know, directly expand the DAO is the name of the game right now for, well, at least for me and Jack, it's a big portion of the day. So
yeah, and like
absolutely.
I said, like everything within Wolfworks, like I was saying, just kind of is falling into place where it's like we have a more solid foundation with the site and everything. Insurance is good to go. All of these things are good to go. And then some of those YouTubers, influencer, whatever guys, we already have deals with those guys and they're paid and everything. So it's like a done deal with some of them. It's just like when to pull the trigger, right? But that's kind of the point we're at now, is everything kind of fell in place.
The rocket is built and has been fueled.
Yeah.
Now we're getting ready to hit that launch button.
Ready for launch. And
the future is now, baby.
The future is now. But yes, if you guys want to reach out to me anytime, you know, my DMs are always open. Mostly Discord is the place to find me. Telegram also. But yeah, if you know anyone, if you have any friends or family in your network that talks about this sort of thing, or, you know, has connections, we'd love to hear about it. Because at the end of the day, you know, we're all community members, you know, even the team, we're investors just like you guys. And I I started investing in this project just because I loved it, and it became a passion of mine, and I want to do everything I can to help. And now, working directly with the team to do that has been super fun. So thank you guys for having me and letting me speak on this call. And I'm super excited. And the things we got in the works are awesome, and they're going to happen very soon.
For sure. So at this point, we'll go ahead and open it up to QA. So anybody who wants to go ahead and ask some questions or has anything that they want to say, we'll go ahead and approach that. Fathis, I'm sorry, man, I'm butchering your name. His question was, apart from distribution, how else can I make money with WLD except just hold? Are stakes planned or not?
So as of right now, there's no staking program planned, but as a DAO, if somebody created a proposal and it got enough votes on it and the proposal was passed, then we could do a staking program if it makes sense, if it's all put together the way that it should and everybody agrees on it through a vote. So things like that, incentives, all those things can be pieced together, and like anybody who owns WLD can be a part of that process, where it's like, if you have an idea of how it should be done or like a certain mechanic, you can bring that up as a proposal, and then if it gets enough support, it gets implemented. So staking, not at the moment, but also it's like, we don't, what's the saying people have been saying with staking lately? I saw one the other day on Twitter. It was like, if you don't know what you're staking in, then chances are
I don't remember.
it was something like, if you don't know what you're staking in or where the money from staking is coming from, then chances are you're the product, you're the one they're making money off of. Yeah. But with us, it's like each WLD represents a vote and a portion of the portfolio. So regardless of whether or not they're staking, anything that goes into the treasury of the portfolio, that's added value to WLD. And then also through proposals, could be distributed to everybody. If you guys are not familiar with DAOs as much, there's some things on the docs on the getting started. There's a couple little explanations of what a DAO is that you guys can read, and it kind of goes over it, how it works, and it might make a little bit more sense on why we're not really doing staking or focused on staking.
As far sorry, right.
And then also, like, if you look at other DAOs like BitDAO, they have like, I think last time I checked, they have $1.5 billion in their treasury.
Well, and that's an interesting point to bring up too, is you asked, apart from the distribution, how else can I make money with WLD? Distributions are one way of making money with WLD, but you also have to remember like what it means to make money, right? So like, if we were to go and let's say, for instance, that we end up having this massive project go through our launch pad, and they end up paying a large amount for the launch pad, and they pay for the insurance, and we get them set up where we have this regular revenue coming in. One of the ways that we can set that up to make people money, and potentially even more money, depending on what the situation is and everything else, is like, for instance, setting up a buyback system or investing in additional assets. So like, as we get revenue coming in from all of these different streams, you guys have the opportunity to go and submit proposals. Let's say, that I think Coal Phoenix is a good example. Let's say that you guys see a project like Coal Phoenix or something like that, and you think, okay, well, this has the potential to bring in a lot of regular revenue or bring in a lot of asset revenue or asset value for the DAO. I'd really like to see some of that money get allocated to that, because it's going to increase the value of my investment, right? Then you guys can submit a proposal, and we can go and implement that. We've talked about the idea of like, let's say that a small amount comes in, like $1 million or something like that, which in relative terms is kind of like a small amount. If we were to go and implement something like a buyback system or something like that, the math translates where, essentially people would make more money off of that than they would if we were to go and just distribute it outright. And so there's a lot of different tools and a lot of different financial tools that we can use to optimize the amount of revenue that you're receiving.
So just to run through this real quick, so whenever DAO is different from a company in many ways, but usually with companies and stocks, they have this concept of, you either pay out dividends or you keep those retained in the company. A lot of times the bigger companies will do small dividends because they get more value out of keeping the money in the company, because the company is worth more if it's in the company and not distributed to everybody else. Because just like with the DAO, if we paid, like if there was 5 million USDC distributed to everybody, all of that's taken out of the treasury. But if that remained in the treasury and then also was allocated to other things like a buyback and everything else, then you would technically get more off of the price increase than you would if it was distributed. So those are some mechanics to kind of think about as we get closer to having stuff come into the treasury. And it's as simple as going on the snapshot, and where's the button? Proposals. Where's the button? But long story short, go in here, new proposal, buyback, allocate, and then submit it. And then if it gets enough votes, then 200K comes out of the treasury and goes towards buybacks. But we can also.
Oh, I said, Ben asked if there's any staking possibility. In the future, like if we have a good mechanic as far as staking and we want to do something like that, we can. It is a possibility. However, as of right now, it's not something that we're currently doing. So like we can do that in the future. Yeah, and it's literally as simple as writing a proposal like this, identifying a plan of what you would want that staking to look like, and then that can get voted on.
Yeah, and that's why it's important that everything that we do as a DAO is documented in these docs and on our website. So that way everybody can follow around along with where everything is, what the DAO has in its treasury, and what we can do as a DAO with the assets that are in the treasury. So that way people can go and look at the docs, see what's in our portfolio, look at the analytics, and go here and ultimately say, like, we want to take this amount of this asset and put it towards this, or we want to do some more influencer stuff, or we want to have this marketer do this and it's going to cost this amount, and then write a proposal there. And then if it gets enough votes, we do it.
Right. Yeah, that's the big thing is we make money. You guys decide what we do with it, or we all decide what we do with it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all in the treasury. It's all of ours. If you're a WLD
Right.
holder, then that's a portion of it.
And
none of us have. That's the whole purpose of a DAO is, everybody votes on the actions that are taken as a DAO. There is it's not central organization, it's decentralized autonomous organization.
Right.
So that
you get more voting power the more you have.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
So it's kind of a cycle. It's a system.
So the next question is, where do you see WLD's token priced at the end of the year? Hard to say, of course, but an estimate would be nice.
It is hard. It definitely is hard to say because there's a lot of different factors and things at play whenever it comes to that. Liddy's original timeline was estimated by the end of the year, and then things.
Well, so
it's hard to comment on things because it's like
I think that a good way to kind of look at it is, instead of looking at it from a time perspective, is look at it more like a realization perspective, right? So I think a better question might be something like, where do you see WLD's price when the value of the token is realized? As people kind of, as our reach expands and we are able to take the direction that we're currently handling, we're going to see an influx of individuals. Right now, we're in a situation where when people invest, they're actually, in a situation to potentially make more than what their current investment is by over double or potentially even triple or even more, given how much assets are currently being held and the potential profit on those things, right? And so eventually there'll be a point where people realize, oh man, this is so much profit versus the current price, that gap is slowly going to get bridged, right? And as it does, eventually it'll get to the point where the price of the token is more than the amount that's being that is more than the amount of revenue that's being brought in, to a degree where it's a little bit more reasonable or traditional. And from that perspective, you're in a situation where, I think personally, and this is, I'm not putting any hard numbers out here from the perspective of anything but my own opinion. I think it's very reasonable to think of 10 or 15 cents or even more than that to be the more appropriate to the realized value of the current token versus its current price. And as we do these campaigns, it's perfectly reasonable to think that could be something that would happen before the end of the year or even at the beginning of next year or something like that, that we could see that value realized. But it is one of those things where it's more about what's the price going to look like when the value is realized and less about the timeline specifically.
Yeah. So the biggest thing from our perspective, like for me, Devin, Jack, Daniel, Sammy, all of us, it's hard for us to comment on those things for a few different reasons. One of them is that there's always going to be confidential stuff that we can't always go and tell people publicly. That's one part of it. The second part, I mean, it depends on what it is too.
Right.
There's so many different things. It's like the second part also is that whenever it comes to estimations, all of that speculation, and we're not financial advisors. So legalese wise, we can speculate, but we're not financial advisors. Don't go off of what we say for estimates and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But to give some kind of expectation on that, we do have the foundation now of everything that we're doing. And then a couple of those YouTuber influencer guys are paid now. And then we're also onboarding more of them and starting to roll these different things out. So traffic wise, we'll probably start getting more traffic. And then also with the setup that we have, converting a lot of that traffic into joining the DAO in our community. So with that, and then also with things in our treasury like Liddy, Cold Phoenix, all those, there can be things going into the treasury before the end of the year, because you said end of the year or next year. Yeah, so end of the year and next year, because you said or next year. Yeah, so whenever one of those things comes in, then that goes to our treasury, and then we can do things like buybacks and anything like that. So with those different mechanics plus running traffic to WLD, I mean, I expect something to come out of that.
Absolutely.
But so blind meme guy, yeah, he said technically we are staked since we hold the benefits for distributions, which and that's kind of what I was saying earlier is the distributions, you're getting something out of the portfolio, so we don't really have a need for staking.
Right.
But if for whatever reason somebody thought it would be a good idea to do a certain staking program, then just bring it up as a proposal, write out the mechanic of it, and then we can do that.
Yeah, and new ideas are constantly coming out in the market. We keep a close eye on some of the new innovations that are coming out in other DAOs and other organizations and stuff like that. If there's a mechanic like staking that can work and accommodate for us in a better way, then obviously we want to know about it. Obviously, we want to be able to go ahead and consider that. But ultimately, as of right now, the things that traditional organizations are looking to do with staking, we're kind of already doing without the need for you guys to do that, right? And so, eventually we could see that, but as of right now, I feel like staking is one of those things that people get excited about because it makes them feel like they are like doing something to earn that, but you guys are already doing something to earn the revenue that you do by holding the token. It's no different. The only difference is you still have the tokens with you instead of in a staking wallet or something like that.
Yeah, I wish I could find where I found that quote from. It was something like, if you don't know where the funds from staking are coming from, chances are you're the one. You're the product. You're the one being used. You're the profit, not.
And that, I think that's a really good point too. And we'll wrap this up, but it's also kind of important to point out, guys, if you look at the crypto winter that we're going through right now, a huge portion of that has been caused by companies that are essentially like Ponziing, and they're using staking as a way to do that, where their whole idea is, oh, well, we can continue to bring in people into this project, and therefore we can continue to bring in the value of the token and therefore make more money. Well, eventually you're going to end up reaching the market cap for what your product is, right? And at that point, as soon as people start to go and look at that and go, okay, well, where's my money? That's when these things start to collapse. And we've seen this time and time again with huge organizations. We want to make sure like those mechanics, if they're implemented right and make sense, then that's fine. But as far as like, doing this a different way than what's currently being done in crypto, that's a big portion of why we're doing what we're doing, is we're trying to build legitimate, sustainable revenue for our holders inside the crypto space and prove that it can actually be done. So like, it's one of those things from that perspective where I look at it and I go, staking is cool and all, but have you heard about WLD?
Yeah, staking has become a dirty word lately.
Right. It has. It's definitely got a little bit of negative, because all of them, like you said, are starting to collapse. Because, looping back to what I said way in the beginning, is that like all of those or a lot of those staking programs and projects, they're in crypto for the sake of crypto. They're printing off tokens and they're giving value out, but all of it relies on people buying into it. So sooner or later, as soon as people stop, it's gonna collapse. It doesn't make sense. Right. It is just doing it because it's crypto, DeFi, whatever. That's the pitch. Right. Where we take the approach of, we're doing all these things and we're using crypto and blockchain and whatever as a platform to do what we're gonna do regardless, whether it's on crypto or not. One way or another, we're going to do something, but using crypto as a platform, it opens up different options and different abilities to do different things and like involve everybody, which is like what it's about.
Yeah. Would you rather invest in a VC like BlackRock, or would you rather go and invest in a Kickstarter campaign? And like, if you look at it, traditional crypto is a lot more like a Kickstarter campaign, where the idea is they're promising that they're going to implement something. Where if a traditional VC, they're already going and buying established things, or they've already built these things and they're building profit off of it. And so we're clearly taking one approach a lot more than the other. So another question came in. Is it true that if I keep my WLD on a ledger, do I get distributions on my ledger? Riley, you know more about that than I do, but I believe the answer is yes, right?
Yeah, it works the same way. To be able to see your WLD balance on your ledger, what you can do is you just go to MetaMask and there's an option to connect a hardware wallet, and then you just select ledger. You can view your balance, you can create transactions, send your WLD, and do all that stuff. So yeah, it works the same way.
So the simplest answer is your distributions will be waiting for you on your ledger whenever you connect it again.
Yep. And then Joshua said, do you already have new partnerships in sight? Yes.
Yes,
we do.
Absolutely. You know, that's,
I was,
man, Riley, I really wish I could say more. There's all kinds of different stuff that we've got going on with certain things. Obviously, some things we can't talk about quite just yet. You know, it's one of those things, right, where let's say, and I'm not using this as a legitimate example, I'm using this purely as a hypothetical, but let's say that we were in talks with something like trying to create a deal with an organization or like a whole bunch of organizations, and we're in the middle of the thicket of those. We want to be able to tell you guys about that kind of thing, but like until we've got that partnership secured, we can't really go and be like, oh yeah, this is what's going on. But on the flip side of it, there are partnerships that we've gone ahead and built. We've gone ahead and built partnerships with influencers that have come in as strategists that have, you know, tens of thousands of followers on platforms like Twitter and YouTube, and as well as you know, other influencers that we're working with directly and organizations as well. You know, we went ahead and partnered with CBB, which is an awesome, you know, smaller but awesome organization. They're growing pretty quickly. We've done partnerships in the past with companies like Infinity, and we'll continue to expand those partnerships as we go on. So,
mhm. So I gotta hop off because I forgot that I made an appointment to get a haircut
okay,
and we ran longer.
Well,
So
it is
Yeah.
top of the hour.
it's
so
top of
we
the
can
hour.
yeah,
wrap it up
It's
so
time
here.
to call
so
it.
hopefully they still
Are you cutting
let
all your
me-
hair off?
No,
Hashtag buzzcut.
no, definitely not. But hopefully
Me
they still
neither.
take
I
me.
said I'm
but
not gonna cut my hair till we get a payout.
So Elias said,
Yeah.
did you hear about the vampire who got into crypto? It got killed when he tried staking.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
But all right, guys, well, we'll go ahead and call it there. And if you have any other questions or anything like that, drop it in the Telegram, the Discord, all of the places. And you know, feedback. Definitely any feedback that you have for the website. We're going to be doing a lot of work with that in the future, doing a lot of changes and a lot of growth with it. And we expect, like, we're doing a lot of progress with that. So we will talk to you guys later.
Yeah, thanks so much for hopping on, you guys. It's really fun.
For sure.
Try out the swap feature.